All right, Dan, we've been in Miami a couple days, and I've noticed you've been using Hinge quite a bit. So you've used Hinge in Boston, you've used it in the Philly area. Now we're in Miami.
Mhm.
Does it live up to the hype? What have you noticed? What are the differences?
Yeah, so hype's a funny word. I think in the context in which you're asking it, it does live up to the hype because the women down here are beautiful.
Hmm.
That's the first thing that I'll definitely throw out there. It I will say they're beautiful, and I'm going to assume that the materialistic nature of Miami probably makes it so that the standard of what you have to put out there is a little bit higher. So the photos are like they're very like professional. They're very like the
Yeah.
girls are always dressed to the nines. Their makeup is perfect. It's rare that you have like it's not like up north where you have the girls who are just like I go hiking. Like it's not like that. It's every girl. It's multiple bikini shots. A lot of times it's like a thong bikini. You might have a girl shaking her ass in the club. You have the girls in like their gown dresses taking a photo on like their balcony with the lights of Brickell in the background. Like
Hmm.
all the photos are like perfect. So in that sense, it might be that they're not quite as they're not that much more attractive than the girls up north, but they present as that on Hinge.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting to consider. But overall, I've been on one date. I've I have a couple others that I'm like lining up while I'm down here,
Okay.
um, where it's been one of those things. Because again, we arrived Saturday and we were just sort of like, let's take it easy. But then I had a girl hit me up wanting to get drinks that night, so I was like, oh yeah, like
Yeah.
why not?
And just for reference, you didn't match with her that night and schedule drinks. You changed your location a couple days ago, right?
Yes, I started talking to her the day prior. I
Okay.
had well, I you're right. I did change my location like in earlier in that week, but then I realized I was just like liking every girl because every single one of them was so hot, and I was like, I'm not gonna like balance this for a week. I'm not gonna get a bunch of numbers and worry about that. So I deleted the app until I was on my way, and then I ended up matching with a few girls, and this girl was just she was the most forward in terms of the offer. Like she was just like yeah, why don't we get drinks on Saturday? And again, as a guy, as much as you like the idea of courting the girl and going to get the number and get the date, and you kind of like to be in control, and you think that women like to be in control. If a girl comes up to me and says, "Hey, I'd love to go get drinks with you," I'm not going to say no if she's
Yeah.
hot and if she's cool. Um, so that so that made it a little bit easy for that night. Went out, got the drinks. Unfortunately, she didn't live super local. She was actually coming up from the south, and the reason why we didn't like do anything like crazy, like bringing her back here or maybe go back to her place, is just because she only works in town. So I kind of lucked out having her location beyond when she was in Miami, which kind of stinks because it would have been nice to go on a few other dates with her and see what it's like. But it's probably just not something I want to focus on for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I will say, for one, there are a couple of girls I've used the you have your notifications off move. Like, here, let's get the number. I will say, though, girls are quicker to respond on the app down here, which is interesting. I don't know why that is. I wonder if it's because of the. I wonder if it's because of like the kinds of guys they're matching with. Maybe it's the availability and the proximity of being able to meet up for a date. Like it's a smaller town, so like
Mm.
living in Wynwood, you could easily just walk to Midtown. And if you're in Midtown, you could easily just hop on a scooter or take like a $5 Uber into Brickell. And there's a lot of restaurants and a lot of just places to kind of go out and chill. Um, that, or you might have these girls who, at any given moment, might think that any guy on a dating app is just super rich and they're going to take them out for a really, really, really nice night.
Yeah.
So they're a little bit more eager to check the app and be like, I wonder which guy is going to take me out tonight.
Well, they have to eat every day, right? So, like,
Yep.
he'll buy me dinner tonight.
So, um, but yeah, there's been a little bit different. A lot of the same moves and the same games seems to work down here for getting attention, getting numbers. Like you can still use a lot of the same tact, but it's a little bit more. it just feels like it's a little bit more superficial. The girls tend to engage, but it seems like they're trying to filter rather than like make you impress. So up north, a lot of the girls that I interact with, they tend to like engage, be very playful, be like occasionally they'll be playful. If they're not, it's usually sort of like apologetic, like, oh, sorry, like I haven't like gotten to the app, or like, I'm sorry, I've been really busy today,
Yeah,
which every guy is used to.
I know that all too well.
Yep. But down here, you have girls who are a little bit more. They're a little bit more inviting, and they're a little bit more like interrogatory. Like they actually ask you questions about yourself,
Hmm.
and it's not like they're asking deep questions. I'm not saying that they're being like crazy playful or flirtatious. Um, but like I've had multiple girls where they actually go into my profile and just like, well, I want to know who your favorite Disney princess is. Or you'll get a girl who will like depending on what you respond to, they'll be like I think I one of the things I'm noticing is when girls go like my typical Sunday morning coffee, like something super basic,
Hmm.
I'll be like, well, I make a mean homemade cold brew if you're ever interested in that, and they usually go like ooh, like what made you so interested in coffee? So they give you a little bit more to work with, and I wonder if it's just because like it's more of a dating town. So they have to like ask the questions to figure out like which guy is the guy who I want to take me out tonight. I don't really know the philosophy behind it. All I can say is like it's definitely been a little bit different in the first couple of days talking to
Now
them.
the people that you're matching with, are you able to see if they're from Miami or if they moved here, like they're transplants?
Um, well, I mean, I don't think you can see that without asking, right? Like you'd have to be like, oh, have you like
Well, sometimes
always.
it says like hometown, like New York, then they live
Oh,
here.
oh, oh, oh. Well, what's funny is a lot of the girls, it's like Venezuela,
Yeah.
Colombia,
So they're
Mexico.
transplants, but not in the way
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
envisioning it.
yeah. Actually, the girl that I went out with the first night was Cuban, and but she moved here when she was like 5. You know what I mean? So, um,
Took a boat,
probably, yeah, or a
raft.
raft,
Yeah.
one or the other. But it was, uh, I guess, from a transplant perspective, I would imagine that a lot of like she's been here her whole life. I was talking to another girl who I played off the card of like, yeah, like I'm kind of like a new Miami and I'm new in town, that kind of thing. And she was like, "Oh, well, I've been here for like 4 years, so we can explore. So I can show you all the cool places." And once you're in a place for 4 years, like I don't know if you're considered a transplant anymore. It's like you weren't born here, but you've lived here for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, Now, I will say, a lot of girls I've seen this on their prompts. They'll be like, "All I ask is that you actually live in Miami." Or one thing I'd love to know about you is, do you actually live in Miami? Which I think girls are starting to pick up on, like, I'm sick and tired of, like, dudes who come down here and they just hinge to try to hook up and they're in town over the weekend and they do that. So,
Now, do you think they lie too,
do with the girls or the
or
guys?
not overtly lie, but maybe they update their location to say they're in Miami, but it's like they meet and they're like, "Yeah, I'm actually here for like 3 days."
You mean the guys do that?
Yeah.
They might. Like guy I mean, look, like guys can be sleazy, of course,
Yeah.
but um I also think that it's more like if a guy swipes and a girl starts a conversation, it's like the girl is like, I didn't even want to start this conversation had I known you were just here for the week
Yeah.
or here for the weekend. It's like put in your profile, like, oh, I'm in town, I'm in Miami for the weekend and I'd love to meet up or something like that. Um, but it seems like, a decent chunk of these girls are I've still seen, even in Miami, which is like a very like it's very much a dating town. We've seen the sugar daddies out like
Oh
in
yeah.
full force. We've seen a
That
lot
was
of that.
expected.
Yep. Where you just look and you're like, mm-mm. Yeah, one of this. So it but I've still seen plenty of stuff where it's like, all I ask is that you be looking for a relationship. You should not go out with me if you're not looking for something long term. So there's still plenty of girls who, even when they're taking those big glitzy photos and they've got their balcony pictures and their cocktails on the water and all this stuff, um, maybe they've got like the cars in their photos and things. Like even with that, it seems like it's still just regular girls who
Hmm.
are still trying to date and trying to find a boyfriend. Probably one with money that'll take them places around Brickell and South Beach.
Why
But
not?
that's actually going to be something that is going to be interesting as I talk to more girls over the next couple of days. Is how many of them are willing to grab a coffee? versus, oh, you're just going to take me for coffee. Oh, I'd rather you take me to dinner so we can do something first. It's like, because up north, it's very easy to be like, hey, I'd love to just like grab a coffee this weekend if you'd be down. And girls are typically down, like
Yeah.
especially in Boston, like a very what place where you like a lot of places to walk. Um, or I could be like, hey, I'm taking my dog for a walk. Do you want to join? And girls up north are usually very, very keen to do something like that. It's very innocent. But I've also had girls in the past where it's, hey, I'd love to grab a coffee. And they're like, and literally they'll be like, I don't know. It just seems like
Too
yeah,
informal.
yeah. It's like not, it's like not a lot of effort. And and they'll just be like, I'd rather like do something this Wednesday. And even if they're not, even if they don't have the balls to be like, that's not enough, they'll just be like, I'd rather like, could we do dinner on Wednesday or Thursday? And you're like, okay, I kind of pick up what you're putting down here.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I've tried to get a couple coffee dates set up. I haven't heard back, obviously, because it's Hinge and I don't have the numbers yet, and
Hmm.
we'll see what happens. But um, yeah, it's different. It's also kind of the same. But I think as I go through the next couple of days and weeks, I'll kind of get a better sense for what these girls are like, and then when we actually go out this weekend, it's going to be fascinating to see. Okay, can we go talk to these girls? What's the approach like? What's their vibe like when I see them at a bar? Um, or is it just going to be one of those things where every girl just gets dressed up and they're waiting for the rich guy to hit them up to go to the club where there's bottle service? You know what I'm saying?
You get a lot of that.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I've only been to Miami for vacation purposes, so I've seen that. I
yeah,
haven't really put the time in to see the other. But if there's someone who's going to discover it, it'll be you.
yeah. So I'll keep the reports coming. Like, what's it like to date in Miami? Um, but yeah, nonetheless, I think beautiful girls. The one date that I've been on so far, she was really cool. She was super interesting. There was nothing really all that like there was nothing standoffish and look at me about her. She was just a normal girl. It was great. But um, you know, we'll see if I'm able to pull off coffee or if I'm forced to go to dinner. We'll see what kind of restaurants that they want to go to and what the recommendations are like. And obviously, when we go out this weekend, we'll kind of see what the vibe's like because I know how to talk to girls up north. It's pretty easy. But down here, it's uh, it's also going to be interesting to see what it's like talking to people who haven't been around COVID for a while.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw more masks than I expected, but it's all voluntary.
Yeah, and there's no restaurants. It's not like you get maybe like the week.
Servers.
Uh, oh, that's true. Servers are doing it,
Yeah.
which is so interesting. Like I thought you weren't allowed to do that. I guess it's only vaccine mandates you're not allowed to do down here.
It
You
could
can,
be voluntary. Maybe they're just like, yeah, if I'm working 8 hours around people, maybe I just want to put a mask on for whatever.
yeah, maybe. And again, it is a metro area, so you're going to have a little bit more of that that lean
Yeah.
to it. But that being said, I've had quite a few conversations on Hinge. Nothing political. Like
Yeah, they're over
yeah,
that.
yeah. No girls are like, "What's your vaccine status? Like,
They're
who'd you
not going
vote
to a
for?"
protest on Saturday. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. So that's been refreshing. There's like because there's no concern.
Hmm.
Whereas with every girl up north, it's just like, all right, before we go out, I just need to know. Like, it's like Jesus.
The midterms are in over a year, and like, what are you thinking? Because I really need to know.
Yeah, because I just don't want to waste our time. So silly. But yeah, I think that's a decent update for now. And I'll obviously keep them coming, but for now, it's off to a pretty decent start. Lot to uncover.
Yeah, can't
So
wait to hear more.
we'll see.